My name's Evan Guernsey, and I'm an accounting student.
My name's Jade Pham, and I'm a media studies student.
I'm Malcolm Forsyth, and I'm also an accounting student.
Um, I'm Joshua Falcone, and I'm a marketing student.
A group of business students team up with the city and a local nonprofit to plan a summer event in Edmonton as a response to an RFP. The goal is to bring more people downtown, support local businesses, and create an event that reflects the community. We cut to an early meeting between the team and a local cafe. Each group member is still getting to know each other, and initial brainstorming for ideas is being conducted. Group cohesion feels high, and everyone is in good spirits.
Okay, what if we think bigger than just a small event, like a full summer festival in Edmonton? From a marketing standpoint, a larger event gives us a stronger value proposition. It's easier to position something big as a destination experience rather than just a local event people might skip.
It could actually be huge, especially if we push it on social media properly. If we start building hype early through posting on multiple platforms to catch everyone's attention, everyone will be excited before it even starts. We want to build an image around this festival as something fun, not just like any place, but somewhere where people actually want to be seen at.
I like the idea, but we need to think about costs right away. Festivals aren't cheap, and if we don't plan it properly, we could end up losing a lot of money. I think it's important that we stay realistic from the start instead of assuming everything will just work out.
Yeah, like permits, vendors, staff, it all adds up pretty fast. Even just booking space and equipment is going to cost way more than we probably expected.
If we scale it properly, it's actually easier to attract sponsors. Bigger events means more visibility, which makes it easier to show real value to businesses.
And honestly, if the content is good enough, we can also show people what the festival is actually about, like highlighting local vendors, different cultures, and what makes the event unique. That way, we aren't just promoting it, but also giving people a reason to care about it.
We now move to an official meeting in an office where the team is looking to finalize their initial plans.
All right, so let's break this down. We need a clear budget first. Before we get too far into ideas, we should figure out what we can afford and what kind of funding we'll actually need. If we don't set that early, it's going to be really easy to overspend without realizing it. We should probably start by identifying our major costs, then build everything else around that. That way, we're making decisions based on actual numbers, not just assumptions.
Yeah, I agree. I can focus on tracking all of our expenses and making sure everything stays organized as we go. We'll also need to look at where money's coming from. If we're dealing with public money too, we'll need to make sure everything is documented properly and stays clear, which may add a bit more layers to how we plan things.
Okay, so while you guys handle the financial side, I'll focus on promotion and demand generation, making sure we're actually building interest with the right target audience and not just advertising broadly. I'll start to think about existing demand, how we can position it in the market, what audience segments we want to target, and how we can attract both attendees and sponsors in a way that actually differentiates us from other events.
Yeah, and I can support that by focusing on the content side. I'll focus on social media, posting some videos, and anything that helps people actually see what the festival is actually about. It's not just promoting it, but making it feel engaging and real so people want to be a part of it. I'll make sure our online presence matches the vibe so it's easy going from seeing it online to actually being there downtown. If we can draw an engaged crowd, businesses will be eager to get involved.
And we're not doing this alone. If we actually want to make this happen, we'll need to work closely with the city. Without permits and approval, we can't even run the event. They control the spaces we'd be using, and there are a lot of rules we have to follow.
All these rules might affect our budget too. Things like safety requirements, insurance, and staffing aren't optional, so we need to factor all that in pretty early.
And we're also working with a nonprofit. They're going to want to have their own priorities for the festival and we'll have to consider their input as well. I want to make sure I'm capturing their mission in our media plan to show as a core part of the story that we're trying to sell to the public.
Yeah, their main focus is making sure the festival is inclusive and actually reflects the community, especially groups that might not usually be represented.
I definitely think that's a good idea. It makes the event feel more meaningful, not just something we're doing to make money or attract a crowd. It'll help connect Edmonton and get people interacting with the community.
And it gives us better content too. We'll have more meaningful stories to share. This should lead to more appealing and authentic advertisements that will continue to bring in even more of the city.
In these first two scenes, we see the team starting to synergize in what is likely the forming stage of Tuckman's stages of group development. Issues and points of contention haven't arisen yet, and each team member is using their unique strengths to enhance the ideas brought forth. This stage also begins to reflect stakeholder theory, as the team starts to recognize that the project will need to account for the interests of multiple groups, including the city, the nonprofit, businesses, and the public.
We now rejoin the group a week in the future as Evan called an important meeting to discuss a new issue that has come up.
Okay, peeps, we have a problem. I've just come from a meeting with the nonprofit we're partnering with, and they have some new demands. I've been looking at the numbers, and based on what we've planned so far, we can't afford everything that they're asking for. Once we factor in permits, security, equipment, and staffing, we're already pretty tight on budget. If we keep adding more pieces without adjusting anything, we're going to run into issues really quickly.
Oh no. What do you mean specifically? Like what parts are pushing us over?
They want more free community spaces and activities, which means we'd have fewer paid vendors and less direct revenue coming in. That makes it harder for us to cover our costs, especially if we're relying on those fees to break even.
And it's not just that, this also would affect how predictable our revenue is. Vendor fees are something we can estimate pretty clearly, but things like attendance or donations are a lot less certain. If we're reducing our number of paid vendors, we're basically increasing our overall risk of taking on this project. But we can't just ignore the nonprofit's wishes. They're providing a good portion of the funding for this project in the first place.
They would also be a big reason why people would show up to our event. Their organization has a good reputation with the public. I think we just need to comply with all their requests. If we don't include community spaces, the festival might not feel as inclusive but more corporate. This can negatively affect how people see the event and whether or not they would even want to come. If it's just a bunch of vendors trying to sell things, it might not stand out or connect with people, and we might just lose our audience completely.
Yeah, exactly. From a marketing view, the community side is a big part of what makes the event appealing. It's a core part of our value proposition.
But we still have to deal with the city's requirements. Things like safety regulations, permits, and insurance aren't optional, and those costs add up quickly. We don't really have flexibility there, so that puts even more pressure on how we manage everything else. Additionally, I know how important the paid vendor areas are to local businesses. They're also relying on these spaces to be able to turn a profit.
Right, so we're kind of stuck balancing all of these things at once. We want the event to be successful and attract people, but we also want to make sure it's financially doable. If we ignore the budget, the whole project falls apart before we even get started. Doesn't matter how good the idea is if we can't afford to run it properly.
But we're trying to grow the event and attract people, and we need to make sure it actually connects with the community. If we cut nonprofit ideas now, we're essentially cutting the thing that makes us even newsworthy. If we lean too business heavy to save on our budget, we have an event that looks good on paper, but there's no heart or connection behind it.
But none of that can happen if we don't stay within budget. We need to negotiate with the nonprofit and inform them of our concerns, because this just isn't going to work. My hope is that we can arrive at some form of agreement where all parties are at least partially satisfied. I'll request another meeting with them immediately.
This scene demonstrates the storming phase of group development. Team members are more openly voicing their opinions and concerns, which naturally leads to some clashing as issues arise. The accounting-focused team is stressing staying on budget and maximizing profits. On the other hand, the marketing and media studies experts are stressing on the importance of connecting with the community through their more people-focused fields. In order to successfully move forward, this team will come to a compromise based on their collective expertise where each aspect is considered.
At the subsequent meeting that was requested, the nonprofit conceded to allow some leniency on their requests. However, they still stated that they wanted at least some free community spaces available. They decided to give the team some time to reconvene, decide what is feasible for them, and come back with a new plan. We now meet up with the team in a restaurant during a brainstorming session for the new plan.
Okay, what if we adjust instead of cutting things completely? Instead of removing those community pieces, we could find a way to balance them with our revenue sources so we're not losing out completely. We could keep some free community spaces, but balance it with paid vendor areas. We could negotiate with the nonprofit to keep our profit margins manageable while still meeting most of their goals and bringing in more of the community.
That could actually work. As long as we're still hitting our financial targets, we can afford to include those pieces. We'd still have to take a partial hit to our profit, but that could still work as long as we allocate without putting ourselves at risk. If we plan it properly, we can support both sides without sacrificing too much of either.
And from a media side, that's actually a good thing. Those community spaces are what makes the event more interesting and engaging. I believe it's a big selling point and what makes the event more appealing to the press and local influencers. It gives us a real, it gives us something real to show people, not just vendors, but actual experience, local talent, and stories to make people proud of Edmonton.
Honestly, it sounds like a good compromise. If we plan properly, we can still meet the nonprofit's requirements without going way over budget.
This scene sees the group resolving their issues as they enter into the norming stage. Instead of stubbornly holding to their original opinions, They come to a compromise that balances all the relevant interests. Each group member's expertise is coming together to allow them to arrive at a solution that works the best for the greatest number of people. Ultimately, the team was able to arrive at a new plan of action that satisfied the nonprofit. The project moved forward with enough funding, and the festival was a huge success. The project satisfied the city, who vowed to try to make the festival an annual event.
This scenario has demonstrated that working across sectors isn't always easy, but it enables collective problem solving, where individuals from different disciplines contribute unique perspectives to address a complex issue. In this case, no single sector could have solved the problem on their own. The accounting team focused on financial feasibility, the marketing and media team focused on engagement and public perception, while the nonprofit and the city's regulatory requirements introduce additional constraints.
By bringing these perspectives together, the team developed a more balanced and effective solution. Although this process introduced complexity, it ultimately leads to stronger outcomes that reflect the needs of multiple stakeholders rather than just one group. This scenario also reflects stakeholder theory, as the success of the project depends on balancing the interests of multiple groups, including the city, the nonprofit, local businesses, and the public.